I'm 68 years old, and I have 3 children, a son, 2 daughters, all grown now, all successful, all alive and healthy. But if you ask them to describe me, really describe me, not just the surface facts, they couldn't do it. They don't know my favorite song. They don't know what makes me laugh. They don't know my fears or my dreams or the stories from my childhood that shaped who I became. They don't know me, and that's not their fault. That's mine. My name is Thomas, and I want to tell you about the biggest mistake of my life. Not a single moment, not one bad decision, but a pattern, a choice I made every single day for 20 years that cost me the only thing that truly mattered. I chose my ambition over my children, and now I'm a stranger to the 3 people I love most in this world. Let me take you back to 1985. I was 27 years old, just married to my wife, Elizabeth. Beautiful woman, smart, patient, full of hope for our future together. I was working at a marketing firm, entry-level position, decent salary, but nothing special. We lived in a small apartment, 1 bedroom, shared laundry in the basement. It was tight, but it was ours. Elizabeth got pregnant 6 months after we got married. Our first child, a son. We named him Michael. The day he was born, I held him in the hospital, and I made a promise. I said, "I'm going to give you everything I never had, everything. You'll never struggle, never want, never worry about money." That promise became my obsession. You see, I grew up lower middle class. We weren't poor exactly, but money was always tight. I wore hand-me-downs, never had the newest toys, watched my parents stress about bills every month. And I hated it. I hated feeling less than. I hated wanting things I couldn't have. So when Michael was born, I decided I would climb. I would work harder than anyone else. I would become successful enough that my children would never feel what I felt. Noble goal, right? What I didn't understand then was that children don't need money. They need you. When Michael was 2, Elizabeth got pregnant again. Twin girls, Sarah and Jennifer, born in 1988, 3 children under the age of 3. Our small apartment suddenly felt impossibly tiny. Elizabeth was overwhelmed, exhausted, barely sleeping. And me? I threw myself into work even harder. I told myself I was doing it for them. And maybe I was, partially. But I was also doing it for me, for my ego, for the little boy inside me who wanted to prove he was worth something. I got promoted when Michael was 4, regional manager, better salary, longer hours. I started traveling, 2 days here, 3 days there, sometimes a full week. Michael would cry when I left, stand at the door with tears running down his face. Elizabeth would hold him and say, "Daddy will be back soon." And I'd walk out. Every time. Because the business trip was important. The client meeting couldn't be rescheduled. The opportunity couldn't be missed. I missed his 5th birthday. Client presentation in Chicago. I missed Sarah's first day of kindergarten. Product launch in Boston. I missed Jennifer's dance recital. Conference in San Francisco. I missed and missed and missed. But I told myself it was temporary. Just until I got the next promotion. Just until we could afford the bigger house. Just until we were financially secure. We bought the bigger house when Michael was 8, 4 bedrooms, nice neighborhood, good schools, everything I'd promised. Elizabeth was happy about the house, but she was also tired, so tired. She'd say, "Thomas, the children need you, not a bigger house, you." And I'd say, "I'm providing for them. I'm building our future. They'll understand when they're older." But they didn't understand. They were children. Children don't understand sacrifice. They understand presence. Michael grew up quiet, reserved. He stopped running to the door when I came home. By the time he was 10, he barely looked up from whatever he was doing. I thought he was just becoming independent, growing up. But he wasn't growing up. He was giving up. Giving up on having a father who showed up. The twins were different, more vocal, more demanding. Sarah would ask, "Daddy, "Can you come to my soccer game?" And I'd check my calendar and say, "I have a meeting, sweetheart, but Mom will be there. She'll take pictures." Jennifer would beg me to help with her school project, and I'd say, "Ask your mother. She's better at those things anyway." I outsourced fatherhood to Elizabeth. She was there for everything, every scraped knee, every bad dream, every homework problem, every heartbreak. She was both parents, and I was just the man who slept in the master bedroom and paid the bills. By the time I was 40, I'd made vice president. Big salary, big title, big office with a view, and 3 children who were polite strangers to me. Michael was 13, teenager, moody, quiet, spent most of his time in his room. I'd try to talk to him. "How's school?" "Fine." "Making friends?" "Yeah." "Need anything?" "No." That was the extent of our conversations. 3-word exchanges that said nothing, meant nothing. The twins were 11, still young enough to need a father, still young enough to want one, but I was traveling more than ever, sometimes gone 3 or 4 days a week. Elizabeth stopped complaining. That should have been a warning sign. When your wife stops complaining, it's not because things are better. It's because she's given up hoping for change. One night, I came home from a week-long trip. It was late, past 10 p.m. The house was quiet. I went upstairs, looked in on the children, all asleep. Michael in his room, walls covered with band posters I didn't recognize, music I'd never heard him play. Sarah's room, trophies on her shelf, soccer, basketball, debate team, achievements I'd never witnessed. Jennifer's room, artwork everywhere, beautiful paintings and drawings, talent I'd never seen develop. I stood in the hallway looking at 3 rooms belonging to 3 children I barely knew, and I felt something. A tiny crack in my armor, a small voice saying, "You're missing it. You're missing everything." But I pushed it down, told myself I'd make it up to them. Later. When things slowed down, when I reached the next milestone. Later. Always later. Michael left for college in 2003. He was 18, applied to schools across the country without telling me. The first I heard about it was when Elizabeth said, "Michael got into Berkeley. He's going." California. 3,000 miles away. I said, "Why didn't he tell me he was applying?" Elizabeth looked at me with tired eyes and said, "Why would he? You were never here for anything else. Why would this be different?" That hurt, but not enough to change me. Michael left in August. I drove him to the airport. Elizabeth wanted us to have time together, father-son time. One last chance. We sat in the car outside departures. Awkward silence. I said, "So, college, big step." He nodded. I said, "Study hard, make good choices. Call your mother." He said, "Okay." I waited for him to say something else, to open up, to give me something to work with, but he just grabbed his bag and said, "Thanks for the ride, Dad." Not, "I'll miss you." Not, "I love you." Not, "Thank you for everything." Just, "Thanks for the ride." He walked into the airport, and I sat there in the car feeling empty. That night, Elizabeth found me in the garage. I was pretending to organize tools, but really I was just standing there. She said, "You know why he left so easily?" I didn't answer. She said, "Because he's been leaving emotionally for years. Today was just the physical part." The twins graduated high school in 2006. Both got into good universities. Sarah went to UCLA, Jennifer to art school in New York. All 3 of my children fled, as far from home as they could get. And I told myself it was normal. Kids leave. They grow up. They build their own lives. But deep down, I knew the truth. They weren't running towards something. They were running away. From the empty house. From the absentee father. From the childhood they'd endured. With the children gone, the house got very quiet. Elizabeth and I were alone together for the first time in 20 years. And we realized we didn't know how to be alone together. Our conversations had been about the children for 2 decades. Now they had nothing to fill them. She tried. She suggested date nights, weekend trips, hobbies we could do together. But I was still working, still traveling, still chasing the next promotion. At 52, I made senior vice president. Corner office, executive perks, stock options, everything I'd worked for since I was 27. And I was miserable. The children called occasionally. Duty calls on holidays, brief updates, polite distance. Michael got a job at a tech company in San Francisco. Sarah became a lawyer in Los Angeles. Jennifer was working as a graphic designer in New York. All successful, all independent, all strangers. I tried to reconnect. I really did. I'd call Michael. "Hey son, how are you?" "Good, Dad. Busy." "Want to come visit?" "Maybe. I'll check my schedule." He never came. I'd call Sarah, try to ask about her work, her life, but I didn't understand what she did, didn't know the people she talked about, didn't know her favorite restaurant or what she did on weekends or what made her happy. I knew nothing. Jennifer was the most patient. She'd actually talk to me, send pictures of her art, but even with her there was a distance, a wall, years and years of absence built into a barrier I couldn't cross. When I was 58, Elizabeth got sick. Ovarian cancer, stage 3. The children came home, all 3 of them. First time in years they'd all been in the house together, and I watched them with Elizabeth, saw how close they were, how they talked to her, laughed with her, cried with her. She knew everything about them, their friends, their fears, their dreams, their daily lives. She was their parent, their real parent, and I was just the man who paid for college and signed the checks. Elizabeth fought the cancer for 2 years, surgery, chemotherapy, radiation. The children visited when they could, took turns coming home to help care for her. And during those 2 years, I finally slowed down, finally took time off work, finally was present. But it was too late. I'd missed 25 years. I couldn't make up for that in 2. One afternoon, Sarah and I were sitting in the hospital cafeteria while Elizabeth slept. Just the 2 of us. She was drinking coffee and checking her phone. I was sitting across from her trying to think of something to say. Finally I said, "Sarah, can I ask you something?" She looked up. "Sure." I said, Do you remember me being there for anything when you were growing up?" She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I remember Mom being there for everything. I remember you being gone, at work, on trips, unavailable." I said, "I was working for you, for all of you, to give you opportunities." She nodded slowly. "I know, and I'm grateful. I went to a good school, had everything I needed, but Dad..." She paused. "I can't tell you a single memory of just you and me, not one. Not a conversation we had, not a game we played, not a moment where you were fully present." Those words hit me like a hammer. She continued, "Mom knows everything about me, my favorite color, what I'm scared of, what I dream about. She knows me." She looked at me with sad eyes. "You don't, and I don't know you either. What's your favorite movie? What music do you like? What do you think about when you can't sleep?" "I don't know any of that." I didn't have an answer. She said, "You're my father, but I don't know you, and you don't know me. We're related by blood, but we're strangers." Elizabeth died in 2016. I was 60 years old. The funeral was full of people. Elizabeth had touched so many lives, friends, neighbors. The children's friends who still called her from across the country. After the funeral, the children stayed for 3 days to help sort through things. And then they left. Back to San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York. And I was alone. I'm 68 years old now. 8 years since Elizabeth died. And the silence in this house is deafening. Michael is 43. He's married now, has 2 children. My grandchildren, a boy and a girl, ages 6 and 4. I've met them exactly 3 times, family gatherings, Holidays when Michael felt obligated to include me. They call me Grandpa, but they don't run to me. Don't ask me to play. Don't know me enough to be comfortable with me, just like their father didn't know me. The cycle continues. Sarah is 40, also married. One child, a daughter, age 5. She sends pictures occasionally, updates via text. Lily started kindergarten. Lily lost her first tooth. But she doesn't call and say, "Dad, you should come visit. Spend time with your granddaughter." Because why would she? I never spent time with her. Jennifer is 40, not married, focused on her art career, successful, gallery showings in New York. She's the only one who maintains regular contact, calls once a month, tells me about her work, her life. But even with her, I'm kept at a distance, a cordial distance, polite but not intimate. Last month was Thanksgiving. I asked if any of the children would come home. Michael said his in-laws were hosting. Sarah said they were doing Friendsgiving in LA. Jennifer said she was staying in New York to finish a commission. All reasonable excuses, all probably true. But the message was clear. I wasn't a priority, wasn't someone they wanted to spend holidays with. I spent Thanksgiving alone, in this big house, eating takeout, watching football by myself. And I thought about Elizabeth, how she'd always filled this house with warmth, how the children called her every week, how even after they moved away, they stayed close to her, because she'd been there. She'd built those relationships, brick by brick, moment by moment, for 25 years, and I'd built nothing. My neighbor, a man named David, came over the day after Thanksgiving with leftover pie. Kind gesture. We sat in the kitchen and he asked how my holiday was. I told him the truth, that I'd spent it alone. He looked surprised. "What about your children?" I said. "They were busy, had other plans." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Thomas, can I be honest with you? We've been neighbors for 15 years. I've watched your kids grow up and move away, and I've never seen you with them. Not once. No playing in the yard. No teaching them to ride bikes. No backyard barbecues. Nothing." I didn't respond. He continued, "I'm not judging. I'm just saying, relationships need to be fed. They need time and attention. You can't just expect people to be close to you because you share DNA. You have to build it, and that takes presence." He was right. I'd spent my entire adult life chasing success, building a career, making money, providing material things, and I'd forgotten that children don't need things. They need time. They need attention. They need you to know them and let them know you. I'd given them a childhood of stuff, nice house, good schools, family vacations that I spent on my phone, but I'd never given them me, the real me, my time, my attention, my presence, and now I'm 68 years old, retired for 3 years, finally have all the time in the world, and nobody wants it. Last week I tried something. I called Jennifer and asked if I could visit her in New York, see her studio, take her to dinner. She sounded surprised. Okay, when?" "Anytime. I'm free. Retired, remember?" She laughed a little. "Right. Let me check my schedule and get back to you." That was 6 days ago. She hasn't gotten back to me. I'm not angry. I understand. I'm a stranger asking to visit. That's awkward. I did this. I created this distance. And now I have to live with it. The saddest part isn't the loneliness. Although that's heavy, the saddest part is the missed opportunity. I missed everything. First words, first steps, school plays, soccer games, dance recitals, heartbreaks, triumphs, all of it. I missed watching them become who they are. I missed the moments that mattered, and I can't get them back. No amount of money can buy me a time machine. I've been thinking a lot lately about what I'd tell my younger self, the 27-year-old holding newborn Michael in that hospital making promises about providing. I'd say, he doesn't need a big house. He needs you. He needs you to put down your phone and read him a story. He needs you to coach his little league team, even if you don't know anything about baseball. He needs you to ask about his day and actually listen to the answer. He needs you to be there, fully there. But I can't tell my younger self anything. I can only sit here in this big empty house with all the success I accumulated and none of the relationships that matter. So let me tell you instead, you watching this right now, if you have children, if you're working long hours, telling yourself it's for them, if you're missing dinners and bedtimes and school events because you're building something, stop. Just stop. Because here's the truth nobody tells you. Your children won't remember the size of the house. They won't care about the brand of shoes you bought them. They won't treasure the expensive vacations where you were physically present but mentally absent. They'll remember if you were there, if you knew them, if you showed up. That's it. That's all they want. I have 3 children. I provided everything for them. Education, opportunities, financial security. And none of them know me, and I don't really know them. I can tell you their birthdays and what they do for work, but I can't tell you their favorite songs, their deepest fears, what makes them laugh until they cry, the stories they tell themselves about who they are. I don't know those things, because I was never there to learn them. And now I'm 68 years old, sitting in this house alone, with all the money I made and none of the love I needed to build. Don't make my mistake. Your career will survive without you working 60 hours a week, I promise. The company will go on, the clients will understand. The deadline will get met or it won't, and life will continue. But your children's childhood? That won't wait. It happens once, in real time. And you either show up for it or you miss it forever. I missed it, and I'll live with that regret every single day until I die. But you don't have to. Go home, put down your phone, get on the floor and play. Ask questions and actually listen to the answers. Be there, fully, completely. Because being a parent isn't about providing, it's about presence. And I learned that too late. Don't be like me. Don't be a stranger to your own children. Be there, now, while they still want you to be.